Sometimes it'll say we're going, and then on YouTube it won't. We'll just roll like we are, and I'll get an update in like 5 seconds. So, anyways, guys, welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the Wish Side Drive for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Today, I'm joined by the founder, TopShot, Dapper Labs, CryptoKitties, Arthur Camara. Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom podcast, bro.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. So thanks
Hell yeah,
for the
man.
invite.
Hell yeah. Well, we got a lot to talk about. I mean, you've been on a few different podcasts, so I try not to ask like repeat questions. It's been cool that I've interviewed a couple of the people that you worked with in the past. Do you have any like weird stories from with like Jordan? I interviewed him such a long time ago. Honestly, it was right before Doodles popped off. So I am
Nice.
the reason that Doodles popped off to 12 ETH. So you're welcome to everyone's bags I pumped. But it was a cool conversation, but it was such a long time ago, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Jordan is fantastic. He's amazing. Evan as well. He works with Jordan. But yeah, we had a great time building CryptoKitties. I mean, we Jordan was actually part of the CryptoKitties community. I don't know if people know that, but he was a huge CryptoKitties collector and fan, and what we basically did is we decided to invite both him and Alan to come to Dapper Labs and meet the team, and we were so impressed at how much they knew about CryptoKitties in general. Like they knew the product inside out. They built this thing called Kitty Calc. For those of you who collected CryptoKitties or still do, and Kitty Calc was really useful to know which kitties to buy and get, and how the probabilities of getting breeding kitties and getting good traits. So he built that with Alan. We invited them, we chatted with them, and we were so damn impressed with how much they knew about it. They knew all the traits by just looking at them, and they knew more about the kitties than we did. And I was like blown away at their passion, basically. And he's always been that, like, really passionate about everything he built in the community, very close to users, and being a product lead, like all product leads should, talking to the users and knowing what their pain points were. And yeah, we worked together for quite a long time in CryptoKitties. We worked very closely for a year before he became the CryptoKitties lead and continued with that project on his own. So
Yeah, dude.
it was I was extremely fortunate to work with Jordan, and I'm a huge fan. Yeah, we hang out sometimes and chat sometimes, but yeah, it's been an honor.
Let's
And
go,
I'm
dude.
also a big fan and collector of Doodles as well, and support their current projects too. I think it's exciting what they're doing, and I think there's a lot of potential there too.
Yeah, man. They're definitely taking a little bit of inspiration with the CryptoKitties. They're trying to go a little bit more mainstream, get a lot more people involved. And what you just said about, I didn't even think about it, but you're right. He does have to be in the know of what people are talking about, especially like customers and people using the product. Because the reason me and him had a podcast a few months ago was because I made a video where in the video, I forget exactly what I said, but I criticized like one small little detail where I didn't criticize it. I was just like, what do you guys think about this? It's a little weird, or something like that. And he basically saw the video. It was like a random YouTube video with like 300 views or something, and immediately just reaches out. I was like, yo, dude, saw your video, liked these parts. I saw you're confused about this. Let's jump on a podcast real quick. And we just did the thing, and I was just like, whoa, all right. And then I remember after talking to him, and maybe him and like one or two other builders in the space, and I realized there was a little bit of some levels here of people who have they've been in the space for a long time. They know the industry a little bit more. They know people. And I realized, oh shit, there's about 1,000 projects launching a day, and probably not even 1% of them have people who are competent, especially in Web3, to be able to launch a project and keep it going. But you guys have done really well, like Dapper especially. I think a lot of maybe who are the newer crowd doesn't know too much about Dapper Labs, but you guys have been around for a minute. You guys have rode every single wave up and down. What do you think those secrets have been? Like, what are the things that keep you guys together and keep you guys on top of the game?
Yeah, we've always been very like innovative. We've always had lots of like small teams doing lots of experimentation. It's part of our ethos to be like very innovation driven, very like future facing, and we definitely focus on like the long term and how can we create long lasting value as opposed to like flipping something now or creating something very ephemeral. Like so from the very early days, even CryptoKitties started like that. Like we were experimenting, creating, and seeing what resonated with the audience, right? And we were trying to like explore a new area that was untapped before, and I
Yeah.
think that's very like fundamental to the way we work. We're very like um, we have a lot of ownership of what we do in terms of like attitude and how we approach problems, and I think that's massive, right? Like if you're trying to solve a problem and you're close to your users and you're close to the customers and you're trying to really build it and own each one of the challenges, whether they're easy things or hard things, I think that's ultimately creating better products for the world, and being smart as well about when to uh, let go, right? Or kill ideas that are not working and double down on things that are working. So we've
Oh, dude.
always
Oh my
been doing
God. How
that
do you wait?
quite a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Wait, how do you navigate that world? Because that's something I struggle with personally. Like, at what point do you cut it and be like, all right, this ain't it, versus like, no, let's double down. This is going to take 5 years. Like, how do you know the difference?
Yeah, it's a bit of science and a bit of art, but we definitely measure lots of things. We take a very analytical approach, but we try to be data informed as opposed to like data making all the decisions for us. And we get as much information as we can. Some are um, quantitative, like we get raw numbers. How many people are
Yeah.
clicking this? How many people are enjoying this experience? How many people are completing challenges on TopShot? Like I'm just using some examples, but and we use qualitative stuff. So we're on Discord. We're talking to folks. We have community team members who are collecting qualitative information. Did people
Mhm.
enjoy this? Were people wowed by this experience, or were they like, this was okay? Are people excitedly talking about it on social? Are they coming back and telling their friends? Right? There's a lot of information there. And then in terms of decision making, yeah, you got to make the the call and getting all of those types of insights and also your the experience that we've built and the insights and experience that the team has. We are able to like make certain calls and make certain decisions. But I think, yeah, it's a mix of qualitative, quantitative, and being close to the users as much as we can.
Yeah. What? So tell me about this. Like, who's making those decisions? Is it you? Like, what is your role within the space? And then like someone like Roham, like I remember Jordan telling me that story too when he finally got the call from Roham and he's like, "Yo, you got to come up, you got to meet the people, you got to do the whole thing." And when he tells me that story, I get like goosebumps because that's just like a classic introduction story of when you finally get onboarded into something you've been grinding at, and that's so cool. I didn't know that Jordan was like that guy until honestly until you just said it a few minutes ago. But that's really cool for
Yeah,
me. So what role does he play? I know he's CEO. But what do you guys like? Is it
yeah.
kind of one of those things where everyone sort of does everything, or
No, we used to be more like that, like more scrappy when we were smaller in a way. But nowadays we have lots of people at Dapper Labs, and we grew quite a lot, right, over the last few years. So we try to empower teams to make um, own their decisions and own their paths and own their roadmaps. And leadership is there to really guide and inform and help wherever possible. But ultimately, responsibility is belongs to the team building it. So I think. Roham is the CEO. He has a huge, great vision for the space in general, for the products we're building. He is very hands-on in terms of product ideation, working with every leader really to craft the roadmaps and to build the right things and to craft the right stories. But at the end of the day, we're also like empowering folks to be sort of like the leads of the projects, right? So we have teams on TopShot. We have Janie, we have Jacob, like amazing folks who are leading the way. We have NFL, we have UFC Strike now, and other projects, of course, Dapper Wallet and Flow. So I think in general, we try to create these self-sufficient teams that really operate kind of like a mini company within Dapper Labs.
hell yeah? So what are you doing? You waking up 6 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 p.m.? Like what's your schedule look like?
Yeah, that's cool. I used to wake up so early. I'm an early bird in a way. Nowadays, I wake up at 6, I should say.
Oh my God, I
But I used to
wish.
wake up at 5. I used to wake up at 5 every day, and maybe I'll go back to that schedule. I don't know. And it's not because I'm trying to like follow those, hot tips in order to be successful. You got to wake up at 5. That's not the thing. It's just because I really like long mornings, to be honest. I love like waking up and not rushing to work. I don't
Mm.
like to like jump into the computer right away and answer emails. I hate that feeling. So I try to wake up early so that I have a lot of time before I even start working. I want to eat and exercise and do things that make my morning a little bit longer. So yeah.
Dude, that's a great
Uh,
fucking way to put that, actually. I have never thought about it that way, and I have a horrible time waking up. It's the worst part of my day ever. I wake up and I'm just like, I'm so comfortable. I'm like, bro, there's no chance I'm getting out of this bed in the next 2 hours. Like, there's zero chance. That's a great way to put it, though.
yeah. Now that the team grew a little bit larger, we have people all over the place, right? So we hired a lot. On the East Coast and even Europe and other places. So um, my meetings became, they got. I have some meetings starting at 8 in the morning
Right.
now, and even earlier. So yeah, waking up early helps from that perspective. And yeah, just I'm an early bird in general, but yeah, I've had different phases of uh, when I change my schedule a bit. But yeah, that's kind of like how I'm rolling these days. Yeah.
Are you working at home entirely, or is there like an office you run into, or?
So we have an office here in Vancouver. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. So we have our HQ is here. We have a super nice office here. I go maybe once a month, I should say,
Oh
maybe
wow.
twice a month.
Okay.
I work from home most of the time. Sometimes I travel and I work on the roads, but in general, I work from here. Yeah.
Yeah, I started working at home probably like August, so maybe a little bit under like 10 months ago is when I started going full time and doing online stuff, and it's been a huge change. I've loved it. But I do understand like when people do work at home, then they start to miss like going out to the office and stuff like that. Now I can kind of see that a little bit, not quite enough to go get a job and go out there, but almost enough, where like I sometimes miss talking to people, but I do find it kind of hard sometimes because I'm so deep in this Web3 world to even fucking talk about anything. Like I just like if I'm talking to some random person I meet, or if we go to a class or get a job or something and we end up talking about something, I'm just not interested. Like I don't know if you've experienced the same, but it's really hard for me to like be interested in a conversation if they're not
About
similar in
Web3?
doing things. And like I don't know, like I guess since I started doing YouTube and like entrepreneurial stuff like that, it's kind of hard to relate in some ways, which I guess that maybe sounds shitty, but I've had trouble with that. Like for you, do you have a lot of friends in your life who are not Web3 native, not doing stuff like this, or you pretty much go go go? Like let's do some work, let's do some Dapper Lab shit, let's do some NFT stuff.
Yeah, I think I have both. I have a lot of friends who are very much involved, and I would say half and half, right? And a lot of friends are not, or family members are not. But I try to keep a sense of curiosity and try to think about how to. It's very useful to like explain to people who are not involved about some of the projects we're working on, and uh, get their perspective and get their perspective
Mm.
almost like from a people who've never onboarded before, right? And
Right.
onboarding has been such a central issue to the entire space, like how we go from 100 people who care about crypto in the world to like mass market and having millions and millions of people involved in the space. And I think having relationships with people who are new to the space is extremely valuable, actually. But in general, I don't find it too hard to relate. I just explain what I do to folks and learn as much as I can from their experience too. And some people are like, I've seen all of it. Like some people who are extremely skeptical, super
Yeah.
conservative, even like in terms of investments or whatnot, or in their life in general, become completely like passionate about Web3 over the years. I've seen the opposite of people who are extremely involved in the beginning and nowadays are not as involved, and people who have deepened their experience over time and slowly and gradually. we call it a progressive decentralization in a way, like how people sometimes start by you know, just and that's the ideal experience. They start small, and then
Mhm.
over time they learn, and they get more and more and more involved, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That is really interesting. That actually does bring up a topic that I was interested to get your opinion on. So I've heard this. On like the Twitter 3 a.m. deep dives that I go on randomly. So it's an interesting dynamic, and I think you would give a good perspective because you've been here for a long time, and you've been here since the OG days of like Ethereum, for example, that 99% of people haven't, including myself. So one argument I see a lot is like Bitcoin is the only true decentralized crypto. It's also like the oldest, slowest, expensive. People say Bitcoin's like, some people say at least, like Bitcoin's useless. It's not helpful. People can't innovate it, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, well, Ethereum is more centralized. And with that, they're able to make adjustments and updates and all that stuff, which makes it more possible to be used in the next 50 years. And I was just curious, like, what your thoughts are on like the decentralization bit versus centralization. Like, can you still have like total success in the long run with a fully decentralized protocol way to run the company and stuff like that versus a company that's more centralized? Because a lot of people would argue that the centralized works better from like a business standpoint.
Yeah, I think those are different tools for different problems and different use cases. I don't think there's a one size fits all here, of
Mm,
like, oh, we're only going to have one, chain that controls all the use cases for everything that is possible in the world. It's not. I don't believe that. I think it's more like we are using all of these different properties of the various chains to explore use cases in various industries and how this transforms our day-to-day lives. And I think, and that's why I think the future in a way is multi-chain, because I think there's going to be um, for quite a long time still a lot of exploration before we have any sort of massive consolidation. Of course, in that process, a lot of projects will come up and die. I'm not saying that everything that is here will be successful in the long term, but I do think that it's too early to say, oh, Bitcoin
yeah.
only is the future. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's we're still very much, it's so early. It's weird for me to say this, but it's so early, and we're very much in exploration mode, and that's the mindset that we have to be in. Like we're trying to create value and explore what's possible,
Yeah.
as opposed to create a final solution that will rule them all. And the other thing that I think about quite a lot is different use cases have different needs, right? Different people have different needs, and it's part of what I was talking about in the beginning about talking to users and understanding their problems and what they're going through and the challenges they're going through. The same applies to technology, right? We're going to have lots of use cases where Ethereum is going to be a very interesting candidate, and lots of other use cases where flow is massively, massively better,
Mm,
and other use cases where Bitcoin is going to be the choice. So I still think that having that curiosity to learn, like what holds people back, what types of friction are acceptable or not, what types of things are adding value to users and the world and customers in general, I think is extremely key here. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. True. And plus, I guess in the world of people who want to work in the Web3 industry, which is I feel like, I mean, that's a large part of my audience. I don't make as many like alpha videos, like this project's going to blow up tomorrow, buy this coin, get in early. Like I'm not that kind of channel. So I'm more interested in talking, especially like talking to people on podcasts and hearing what their stories are and stuff like that. But I think it's more about like what skills you can get for your own self and just add to your arsenal so that you're more of a complete figure that you can get hired or you can start building something. I think that stuff is cool. And I think that's where it's more important to put your money, put your time into. But what are probably like the most helpful skills to know if you're going to be in Web3, aside from just like coding? Because I know everyone says coding because that's probably the most standard one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's some like obvious answers there. Like coding is one, but there are nuances, right? And there are differences. Like it's not the same exact technologies, and it's not the exact same styles. And the same thing goes with things like product or design, right? I think there's a much bigger prominence of community and building with the community in Web3 compared to other industries. And I think, and we exercise that from day one of CryptoKitties in a way. Like, we've always built very much with the community side by side. We almost built the community first and then built the product. That's pretty much the way we launched CryptoKitties, and I think that's the way to go in Web3. It's a very community centric industry, and I think that's a huge difference. It's never been as easy to connect with people digitally, right? We were talking about remote work just now, but it's also some people simply don't quite exercise it as much as they should, or don't quite get it, that they need to be deeply connected with their community. They need to be listening and talking day in, day out, building in public as much as possible in this space.
Yeah, man, I agree with there. And you guys do definitely connect with the community. Like that's the one probably biggest thing I noticed, because I've interviewed quite a lot of people in this space, and there's definitely a shared perspective that the OGs have that a lot of the newer people don't have, just because they've been here. Like, for example, when I talked to Jordan and Mac, they both said something along the lines of like, the vibes are very important. Like, vibes matter a lot. And I know everyone knows this.
Yeah.
However, you guys launched CryptoKitties back when like NFTs were not a thing. So like vibes were everything back then. Like, they were the only thing that mattered. So like when people talk about utility, you got to have this, you got to have that. Jordan was like, dude, breeding the cat was the utility. What are you talking about? Like, having the cat was the utility. Like, being in the community was. And so it's a very different perspective. And you guys launched that a long time ago. He told me a story of when Evan, I think it was Evan, snuck into the Christie's auction and sold the cat for like $140,000. Were you there for that?
No, I wasn't there for that, but I remember that very much. Yeah, I think it was a great time. Yeah, but I think there's a difference between like how easy it was, or how different it was to like stand out back then, and how it is today. Like back in the early days of CryptoKitties, the community that we joined was a community of people who were focused on Ethereum. They were focused on financial applications. They were thinking about how this could revolutionize business, but nobody was thinking about entertainment on the blockchain. So if you looked at the conferences and the panels and the people in the community, they were all like serious and somewhat serious and somewhat like black t-shirt and jeans, type of people. And we showed up with like super colorful clothing, super colorful web page, super colorful Twitter page. So it was a big contrast with the existing community back then. And to be honest, it felt just like it feels today. Like, it felt like, oh shit, there's so many people in this community here who know so much more than we do. I felt like I was late to the game, like we felt like we were not early at all. And, and in fact, we were. But at the same time, the way to differentiate ourselves was creating that vibe that was contrasting a lot with the existing community, and showing them, hey, we can be funny, we can be cool, and we can be mysterious, right? Of course, today we have to sort of like apply the same principles, but in a different scenario, because the NFT community changed, the Web3 community changed in general, and you're not going to stand out if you have simply a colorful project anymore, because there are lots of color and attention grabbing initiatives out there. So I definitely agree with Jordan and Max saying that the vibes really matter, the soul of the product really matters. But I also think that it changed over time what it took for you to stand out as a project. And obviously you got to be very attentive and paying attention to what's working, what's not working in the community right now, and creating projects that resonate with the audience you're building, right? So at the time, our audience was different than the audience that exists today, and I think that's a good thing. And we have to be sort of like adaptive and expanding our like expanding our search area in a way, when we create new products and explore new use cases.
Yeah, man, I love hearing the story of CryptoKitties just because it happened so long ago. This is I have one. I think I'm 99% sure it's Gen 1. It might be Gen 0, but it's definitely one of the first ones. Here's the one I own. For who don't know, I'm a CryptoKitties fan.
Oh, amazing.
CryptoKitties stan.
Nice.
So I do have a question about CryptoKitties. Was there any like glaring mistakes that y'all made that, I mean, obviously you never want to go back and change anything, but like if you could change something about what happened with CryptoKitties or the way you did certain things, would there be anything you changed at all, or was that all just part of the story?
I mean, nowadays we're obviously thankful for all the mistakes, and we learned a lot from them. But yeah, to be honest, I think the way I described that we built the community first, was very true, and at the same time, like we rushed the product in a way that
Mm.
first month when we launched was completely chaotic. So what happened was we built this community on Telegram. At the time, Telegram was kind of like the Discord of today. Like everybody built communities, crypto communities on Telegram, and we built like a community of 600 people. At the time, we launched a very mysterious, weird-looking website that had a live stream of real kitties in, I think, Illinois or something. And we didn't tell people what it was, so it was
Oh
very
my God.
odd looking and very mysterious. But like there was a live stream of real kitties jumping around, and a button to donate ether, to an address. And anyway, we didn't tell people what it was, and we kept building that narrative of like, hey, this is CryptoKitties, and it's going to be new and fun. And then we built the product. We brought the alpha to the community in Waterloo. I can tell you the story in a bit about it. But then we built the product in basically a month and a half, with a very small team, and it blew up. It was so successful at the time, and we barely had the infrastructure to support it. We barely had the instrumentation to support it. We didn't have initially like very good analytics. We didn't know who was coming, who was not. We heard complaints about it, but we couldn't handle. Ethereum was a disaster in terms of like in terms of handling the volume. Like, so people would try to breed their cats, and they would have to wait 24 hours for the transaction to be processed. And a lot of people were flocking to CryptoKitties, not knowing what all of that was, not knowing about crypto, not knowing about MetaMask, not knowing about Ethereum, and they would basically put the blame on us in a way. So we made a bunch of like little mistakes and large mistakes there, but in a way they really taught us about, you know, the challenges of onboarding, the challenges of the network, and how we needed to do a better job at each one of those things. And at the same time, they also taught us about how, you know, despite all of that, 10,000 people or more ended up creating accounts and ended up going through jumping those hoops in order to get a CryptoKitty and breed CryptoKitty within the first week, right? So it was like a strong market magnet in a way. So we knew that there was demand. We knew that there was like, hey, people really like this. And at the same time, oh shit, like there's so many things that are very subpar and that we screwed up in a way that we didn't build right, and that we need to do a better job at in the near future, right? So I think that really informed us quite a lot, and it's basically like almost like the foundation that built Dapper Labs later on, right? It's a foundation that led us to build Flow, and the foundation that inspired us to build Dapper, and you know, the same magnet and demand that we saw with CryptoKitties. We were like, hey, oh shit, we could do so much more. There's so many more opportunities in the intersection of entertainment and blockchain that we could be building right now, and that led to things like TopShot. So I think yeah, definitely there were many mistakes, but I see them with a good, you know, in a good perspective nowadays. Yeah.
And I know earlier you had mentioned I think it was off the podcast, about some kind of hijacking conference thing with when you guys first launched CryptoKitties.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So a lot of people think that CryptoKitties was launched at the hackathon, the first Ethereum ETH Waterloo in 2017. But that's actually not true. And it's not true because one, we were building CryptoKitties already for a little bit, for like maybe a month. And we wanted to launch this product and we wanted to have a big splash in the community. But we had no interface. So CryptoKitties at the time was just like a smart contract. You had no interface, you had no visual kitties. And we had a couple of engineers who were going to participate in, and they were CryptoKitties engineers who were going to participate in this conference called ETH Waterloo. And Vitalik was going to be there. So we were like, oh shit, that's cool. That's a good opportunity. But we were, oh shit, we got to impress the community, right? We got to impress Vitalik and others and really show CryptoKitties in its best light. So we ended up building, and myself and Benny, who's another co-creator of CryptoKitties and a huge friend of mine, he convinced me that we needed to go there. We needed to be there. And we tried to buy tickets. There were no tickets available anymore. It was completely sold out. And we decided to go anyways. We were like, all right, no, we're going to go to this conference. We're going to be outside and we're going to beg to the organizers to let us in, right? And that's what we did. We built kind of like a simple interface for CryptoKitties in like 3 days. And I even remember I was coding during the flight, from Vancouver to Waterloo. So it's about a 5-hour flight. And we were like finishing up things because it was completely broken and not working. And it's quite bare bones, right? Super ugly and whatnot. And it was on testnet. And we got the art, a bit of the art from the main artist working on CryptoKitties, Gilia, who's super talented. And we were like, all right, we're going to go with this. We're going to, have the art, the smart contracts, this simple interface, and we're going to test it during this conference. And then we stood outside the conference when we got there for about probably 3 hours, waiting for the organizers to make a decision and whether send us home or let us in. I even remember the night before, we walked around the building to see if we could find a secret door or an exit door to make sure that we knew a way to get in case we needed to get in unofficially. But
that's
hilarious. We have to use that. They allowed us in. We missed the entire keynote from Vitalik, but they allowed us in. It was probably like 9 p.m. on a Friday night, and the idea behind this conference was it was a hackathon, and there was going to be a winner. And we wanted to win the hackathon because if we won the hackathon, we would have more stage time and we would be able to present CryptoKitties to the community and everybody would watch us speak, right? If we didn't win, we would be able to present to the judges and a small portion of the community that ends up watching those presentations, but not everybody that attended. So we wanted to win. The problem is we couldn't win with a project. We couldn't compete with a project that we had started coding beforehand, and CryptoKitties was already, well on the way. So not only we had to present CryptoKitties, but we also had to build something that would win this hackathon. So at 9 p.m. we were allowed in. We spent the entire night there. We didn't sleep I think we didn't sleep Saturday either. We didn't sleep Friday. We didn't sleep Saturday. We basically skipped 2 nights, and we were coding the whole time. And we came up with the idea of building a kind of like a mixed panel for smart contracts. And today we have things like Dune Analytics, right? That does a great job at that. But at the time we built a version of that. You could plug in a smart contract and see analytics for the smart contract. You could see events, you could see smart contract functions being called and how many times and the parameters and all of that. And you could break down by different arguments that the function received so that you could create segments. So it was a very cool idea. And we're like, all right, let's build this analytics tool and let's use CryptoKitties as a contract. So we can talk about CryptoKitties on the stage and we can be promoting CryptoKitties indirectly because we're going to be talking about CryptoKitties over and over and over. while we present the analytics platform, right? And that's what we did. We coded this entire thing in 3 days, and we decided to test CryptoKitties with the audience at the conference and collect the analytics, right? So this worked out so well because we were, like I said, we were wearing like very bright shirts. Everybody was looking at us and trying to figure out what we were doing. We were inviting them to play CryptoKitties, and we were telling them, hey, by the way, we're going to use this data to present on stage, and people were interested, right? They were curious. They thought the cats looked funny. They thought the cats looked kind of cool. We were also not very sure about the style of the cat, so it was also a very interesting community test in real life, and people loved it. It was also when we introduced the emoji. I don't know if you go to CryptoKitties and you breed cats. There's a the breeding emoji is very specific and 18 plus. So we used that as an emoji during that conference. We introduced that icon. So it was great. It was a great way to test the product with the community live, hijack that conference in a way because we didn't have tickets, present the product to the community, and build something else that we could potentially win the hackathon with. And Vitalik was one of the judges for our project, and
wow,
and we ended up winning, which was great. With a side product at the time, we called it Rufflet. We won with Rufflet, but we ended up talking so much about CryptoKitties that people actually remember CryptoKitties more than Rufflet at the time, and that was the point, right? That was the idea. We also sort of like, we were not sponsors of this event or anything like that, so but we ended up bringing a bunch of like stickers of like CryptoKitties.co and little cat jokes, and we put stickers everywhere, and people like the jokes, they like the stickers. We also we figured that instead of giving people business cards, because business cards usually people would throw them away, we decided to buy Pokemon cards and put a sticker of CryptoKitties on the back of the Pokemon card.
Let's go.
And that was because nobody would throw away a Pokemon card. And we just bought a bunch of Pokemon cards on eBay and put a sticker on the back. And people didn't throw them away. They actually brought them home. And
that's fucking genius.
Later.
That's genius.
So we did a bunch of that, those guerrilla marketing things. And Benny was largely a huge influence there, and he thought of all of those little things, and I think that worked, right? And we hijacked the conference. We ended up winning. We ended up presenting CryptoKitties, and the community was really stoked about the actual product because that was a testnet version, and the community was actually stoked to try out the new one when we finally released it. And we ended up spending the next month and a half building the product and launching it on mainnet, and then the rest is what I mentioned before, right? We were quite successful from the get-go. So yeah.
Who was there at the conference with you?
It was me, Benny, Fabiano. Fabiano is an engineer. He was one of the co-creators of CryptoKitties as well. He helped Deet write the ERC-721 smart contract standard on Ethereum. And he was with us for the early days of Flow as well. And then he moved on to a different company. Today he works for Collection. He's the CTO of Collection.
Nice. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And do you think
a company that is building on Flow as well? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you think Jordan was there at that event? Do you know if he was?
I think Jordan wasn't involved yet at the time.
No, I mean as like a supporter person.
We had a different Jordan. So Jordan Shalm, he's an engineer with Dapper Labs today on the Flow team. He was also there. Not the Jordan, Doodles Jordan, a different Jordan, but he was there with us. So it was the four of us, Benny, myself, Fabiano, and Jordan Shalm. And I don't think Jordan Castro was involved in the space just yet. He got involved with CryptoKitties, right? After it became more popular,
Gotcha.
after it became more mainstream, he got involved in the community. He was very active on Discord. When we moved from Telegram to Discord, I think he was already there. So he was already active on Telegram, and then moved with us to Discord, and he was very, very active in the CryptoKitties developer community, and that's when he built Kitty Calc. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That's so cool how it all kind of just like wraps together and then makes so much sense now. So you got to present in front of Vitalik. Oh wait, what were you about to say?
No, I was just going to say that not only Jordan was there, but there are a lot of projects that are super well known today in the community that actually started with CryptoKitties, right? So in the CryptoKitties community, 2017, 2018, we had people like Devin from OpenSea. He wanted to create a bunch of like filters and search on the marketplace, on the CryptoKitties marketplace, and he wanted better features. And in the end, he ended up creating his own because, you know, Web3 he could do that in a permissionless way, and he ended up building OpenSea, sort of like building a competing marketplace almost to CryptoKitties, and even showing a lot of the activity that was happening on the main CryptoKitties marketplace, showing, you know, activity and how many were sold and stats, and that's how OpenSea started, right? They literally copy pasted some of the contract and built on top of that, built on top of CryptoKitties, and then started aggregating more projects. Things like Axie Infinity, same thing, right? They wanted a bunch of features that were more gamified, and CryptoKitties was not quite going in that direction, so they decided to build their own game, and you can see a lot of similarities between Axie Infinity, how they read and whatnot, and then they built an entire gameplay around it. So there were a lot of interesting players in that community, right, that ended up either getting more involved with Dapper Labs and joining us, or building things in the NFT space that became quite large later on. And it's very interesting to see that, you know, we had that initial hype, and we had a lot of that attracted a very smart group of people to build and pour their lives into interesting products. And 2 years later, they came out with the next bull run, so to speak, of the market. They came out with like built products already, right? And they had a bunch of interesting things to share with an incoming audience, right? So I think I'm really excited now because, you know, this attracted so many more people now to be spending their time and brain power building so many more cool things, and we're basically going to multiply that effect by a ton now that we have so many builders in the space. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, you know, not only Jordan and others from that time joined Dapper Labs, but also we had lots of key Web3 players get involved with the CryptoKitties community back then.
Dude, that is nuts. That is fucking wild. I had no idea that that's how like OpenSea got started. I knew about the Axie story. I think the way Mac told it was not bad blood, but he was kind of like, bro, Axie like took our shit, and I was like, oh my god, what? Like for example, like
to be honest, I'll be honest with you. In the early days, like I remember very clearly we were throwing this CryptoKitties party, and there was a guy from I'm not gonna name him, but a guy from Axie. He was like, "Yo, this is a CryptoKitties," and he was invited. We invited him to the party, and he was like, he told me face to face. He was like, "Yo, this is a CryptoKitties party today, but next year it's gonna be an Axie Infinity party, and you're not gonna be invited." Something like that. And I was like, "What the hell? Like, why would you say that?" And yeah, I felt there was a little bit of a crappy attitude back in the day, but. Anyway, I don't know if I should be saying that here, but
I mean, I honestly gave that vibe already from the way it was told to me before. But I mean, if you look at Axie, it's like whatever. But anyways, that is wild. I mean, I guess in the beginning, there's not that many players out there, so everyone who's building is in direct competition. Like when you guys were when the guy with OpenSea, when he started that, was it like weird vibes at all, that kind of thing? Or is it like, yo, good job, like do your own shit, like whatever?
No,
Or is it because they built under you that you guys had some kind of like hierarchy thing?
they didn't build under us. No, they built separately, and no, there were never weird vibes. It's always been great. We've always also been very open about. We've always been very open about creating a universe around CryptoKitties. We wanted to create this. We called it Kittyverse. Lots of different products built on top of CryptoKitties. We had other community members build other interesting things. One of them was kitty hats. So NFTs that could be owned by a CryptoKitty, not by a user, by the NFT itself. So if you sold your kitty, the items that the kitty owned would go with it. I thought it was like the early days of composability. That was really cool. So all of these projects were extremely encouraged, and we see them with immense potential. It's like part of the value prop of permissionless development is the ability to build on top of other projects without asking for permission, without even like I'm super excited for what Devin ended up building, because I think it was clearly necessary and solved a pain point in the market, and I think he created a very cool product. And even about Axie that I was mentioning before, I was pretty excited about their progress too, because they ended up enduring, and they ended up iterating a lot and creating a lot of different experiments and trying things out, and I think that's very valuable. And so no hard feelings at all towards Axie at all, and with OpenSea, it's always been a great relationship.
Very cool. So in those early days, like, okay, what are some things that you guys thought maybe would happen, or a company started and we're like, this is what we're going to build, and then fast forward a few years, we're here and it ain't here, or we're not even close? Like, what are some of those things?
Good question. I think it's more about the unforeseen challenges, of course, like with building a new blockchain and onboarding, building a new onboarding for users. We've faced a bunch of different challenges that we had never seen before. Like, we didn't know what it took to build a custodial wallet. We tried a smart contract wallet before on Ethereum, right? So we thought, for example, the future would be smart contract wallets on Ethereum first, and then we saw that was not the future. So we thought that would pan out, and it ended up not being the path for us. So I could, I think all of those were in general valuable lessons regardless, but we continue to do that and learn and try new things and try to figure out what will stick and what won't. I can't think of an example of something like, oh, we were so bullish on this one thing and then it ended up never happening.
I can rephrase the question. This may actually be even more relevant. So like with the invention of like TikTok, I don't know how much you're like on social media, but like, so, obviously TikTok has taken the world by storm. Everyone's talking about TikTok. They've overtaken YouTube in many ways and all these things. And what I noticed was, especially during the bull run of NFTs, I'm sure you remember, especially back in like beginning of the year / end of year, it was fucking crazy. Like, I don't even know what we were on or what we were smoking, because that shit was nuts. But it was very similar to like TikTok because of just like the idea of FOMO and hype, and just so much attention ramping up so quickly and then just dropping literally like the next day, just disappears. Like, there will be a trend that everyone's doing for fucking weeks or days or weeks at a time, and then it'll just disappear at the snap of a finger, and then there's a new one. And I was curious on your thoughts as to like what you think about that, as far as the NFT market turning into a bit of a casino for a while during the bull market, and then now where we're at now, where 99% of them are down 99%.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've always been very focused on like, how can we create value long term? How can we like keep speculation at a, like, not focus on speculation, focus on value creation and collectors who really want to own NFTs and people who want to be part of this future. So we've always repeated the same message over and over. At the end of the day, we can't control it, right? And that's the beauty of a decentralized future, is that we won't always, we won't always be able to control it, and that was never the intention in the first place. But like speculation ended up happening regardless in any ways, and that's something that we can't directly affect. But we did have specific targets of what we thought was, healthy economy dynamic for TopShot, for CryptoKitties, and whatnot. So we thought, hey, if we, like, some speculation is really healthy. The majority of people like collecting because they believe in the future of fandom is extremely healthy, and here's why. And we had those frameworks in place, and we try to incentivize that through the product itself and educate users about what how they should collect, and we keep telling folks to collect what they love, to collect what is really valuable to them. And I think that's in general how we end up rolling with those things. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
It was honestly just more like discussion, like on your thoughts, because like the reason I brought that up is because I just think the idea of, like, we went from, I know you said you talked to Vitalik, and I don't know what his, like 5 years ago, I don't know what it would have meant to like go meet him, if it would have been like the coolest thing ever, if he's like surrounded by security and stuff. Right. But I imagine now he's like always surrounded by security. He's got like, he's probably one of the most well-known people. Well, okay, I don't know if he's actually one of the most well-known people. I assume many people know who he is. And we can bring up an extreme example like an Elon Musk. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on just like the idea of like people wanting to know information super fast. Like if FUD comes out, for example, everyone wants to know your response immediately. They need to know what answer you have. What's your response? What are you guys going to do? It's like, yo, it's been 2 hours. Like, we don't know yet. But in this world, people want the answers. We got people like Elon Musk, who's heading a many million-dollar company, multiple at the same time, and people are asking him his thoughts on this. Right when it happens, he'll go out and tweet a picture of a dog, like random stuff. Just wondering your thoughts are on social media's impact, especially on Web3 business and industry.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's been with Web3 projects, we usually say, crypto years are different than actual years. People's expectations is that we built something so quickly, so quickly, right? And that we respond to things very quickly too. But responding is fine. I think there's a lot of the product work required to turn some ideas into reality is what needs to be very clearly communicated, and it takes time to build good products, right? It takes time to have engineers code that vision and design the best experience and iterate through the best experiences, right? And a lot of times we've had that exact situation that you're describing of like, hey, we want this feature, and we want it tomorrow, right? Or we want it the very next day. But in general, I think we should stay empathetic with customers and sort of like keep that conversation going, educate about the things that take time, explain why it takes time, and explain our position at the moment. And if we don't have a clear position, explain it, share openly that we don't have a position yet, and we'll share more soon, right? It's very easy to create, when there's so much speculation, I feel like it's very easy to create FUD or FOMO, even when people don't have the information, right? So making sure that there are community team members that are sort of like empowered with the right information to combat that too, because a lot of community members end up, or a lot of people get involved in the community and try to spread FUD or try to spread FOMO or try to spread scams, right? And we've had a lot of work done to prevent abuse in our communities, prevent abuse in our products. So yeah, it's been definitely a huge, battle from the start to make sure that people are not getting hurt in the process of learning something that should be fun, that should be exciting, that should be additive to their experience. And there's a lot of like new ground that is still like not well guarded in a way in Web3, right? So lots of room for scams and bad activity. So, but yeah, I think you asked a little bit about Vitalik and what it was to meet him back then. It was similar, I think, to today. I think I've had the opportunity to chat with Vitalik a few times and meet him, but you know, he was always very focused on the long term, always focused on the Ethereum protocol. Never gave a lot of attention to NFTs, even after CryptoKitties blew up. There was a bit of at the time there was a bit of part of the community was extremely excited about CryptoKitties. Part of the community was blaming us for screwing up the network that was working so well for their purposes before,
Yeah.
like, which is the entire point of decentralization, is that everybody could people could decide for themselves what they want to do, and there's no central control
Right.
of the network. And some people were criticizing CryptoKitties for utilizing the network's resources for things that were not financial, not serious, not critical applications, yada yada yada, according to their vision of what the network should
Yeah.
do. And I think at times Vitalik was a little bit like that in the past, and later I felt super cool. I felt really good when he ended up embedding CryptoKitties into one of his posts. I think he's done
Oh.
that a few times nowadays. A few times now. He's done that recently with SBTs, soulbound tokens. His proposal for tokens that are not transferable. And he's done that in the past as well. So we felt really cool and really good
Oh yeah.
when he shared thoughts on and utilized CryptoKitties as a good example of
Mhm.
those thoughts, because initially he was fairly critical of NFTs.
Dude, that brings up a great topic, I guess, of the idea, like, to convince people that NFTs aren't just like a scam to the normal mainstream world or whatever. We have to like add in some credibility, some legitness, I guess, if you will. And how you just mentioned how people were mad that you guys were doing something just for fun because it messes with their bags. Like, it makes sense. Like, anytime you're messing with anyone's bags, they're gonna get upset. That's generic. But like, to get massive brands in this space, to get more and more legitimate people in, you have to like offer things which just become utility. That's become the word that everyone runs to, and they've got to have utility. Can like, it's almost weird that like NFTs start as this thing like, yo, it's just a collectible. It's just like that's what it is. But then like when you want to make it mainstream, like Gary Vee was saying, he's like, yeah, it's all collectibles. Like, that's what they are. They're digital collectibles. And then eventually we'll get to a point where it's all utility with a hint of collectability. But I wonder if that's only being said that way so that we can get big companies to buy in and to make their own NFT projects and stuff. And I was curious in your thoughts on like what percentage of projects are going to be able to maintain just the idea that the NFT can just be a brand. Because I think there is a space for that, for an NFT project just to be a collectible. And that potentially could be Board Ape Yacht Club, CryptoKitties, things that are like a little bit more OG. But I was just wondering your thoughts on that. Like, do we have to go into this like corporate style of defining what an NFT is to make them go mainstream?
I disagree that NFTs are limited to being collectibles.
Mhm.
I think NFTs can be collectibles. They can make an amazing foundation for collectibles. They innovated with digital scarcity, and that's fantastic for collectability purposes. But I think there's a world of possibilities and new verbs that we can explore and introduce into NFTs. I'll give you a few. CryptoKitties is a good example, actually, because you could not only buy and sell CryptoKitties and collect them for their traits, but you could also breed them. When could you have a collectible that you could like interact with the collectible in that way that produces a new collectible, right? Like
Right.
that was very new, very um, unprecedented, and I think that's after that we saw a lot of animal breeding projects, but there are more verbs that we could explore. One of the cool projects that I was talking to someone yesterday about was, and Jordan shared this with me actually a long time ago, is generative, what's the name? Generative dungeons.
Mhm.
You might have heard of it, but it's like playable levels. So they're generative game levels, and the NFT itself is playable, right?
Mhm.
And you can apply modifiers to modify that level, and you can not only buy and sell, but you can also play with that NFT, right? Um, like a toy has more verbs attached to that NFT than buy, sell, hold, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what we philosophically, that's what we have the opportunity to do. We can explore new uses of NFTs and new verbs that we could use to express ourselves and to create new toys or new things that are not possible without that technology. So it's kind of like it's one example I could share is like, or one analogy is like, it's really hard to predict the invention of like movies and soap operas and ads before the television was created. But then after the television, people could explore all of those different things that they could do with the technology, and then all of those applications became reality. And it's the same thing here, right? We have a tool, we have a technology, a foundation where we can. Some people have explored a few verbs. Collectibles is one, but also like playing with the technology in various ways, like I described with generative dungeons or CryptoKitties. And there's a lot more room for others to explore a lot more verbs, right? So I think that's the key. So I definitely disagree with the statement that it is limited to like collecting for the sake of collecting, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective you brought in there. And for people who are interested, I do have a podcast with the guys over at Generative Dungeons. Actually, it's cool that you brought that up. I do have a podcast. If you just type in Cade Bergman Generative Dungeon podcast or something, it'll probably come up on YouTube. But that is, yeah, you're right. Well, also with Web3 that I don't think gets talked about too much, just because we get kind of hung up on the trading aspect of stuff and doing things like that. But there is this whole thing of building things. And what's interesting that you said is it popped in my head. Have you ever heard of Webkins?
Webkins, no.
Webkins, so it's similar to actually the CryptoKitties, but it's opposite. It's like total opposite the way they did it. It's like you buy the collectible stuffed animal with the code on it and the barcode that you have to buy it from the store to have the barcode that hasn't been used. Then you go online into this virtual world. It's called like Webkins World, and then your character is that Webkins stuffed animal, and then you can play around and do things like sort of like breeding and things. I was like, wait a second. Webkins,
so you buy
like
the physical one and then you bring it to the digital. Oh,
yeah, and I was like, wait a second, that's a fucking NFT.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, we've had this is a community
oh
project.
Wait, oh yeah.
It's like a physical CryptoKitty, but obviously it's the digital one bringing the physical one into reality. But yeah, in this case, it's the opposite. Very very cool.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting concept that just popped in my head. Because if you had to, I mean, you do have digital ownership, but I guess online you can't prove it, and that's where the NFT, the blockchain, comes in. Which I hope. I mean, that's probably why most like the billionaires who are coming into Web3 are buying in. I mean, yes, they want to make more money and they believe that the price will go up over time, but they're really there because they see the advent of blockchain and say, oh, this makes better sense. Like this will likely replace what we've got currently, and we want to just be ahead there. But I mean, I don't know. I think Web3, it just makes sense. The Web3 space just makes more sense to me. It just makes sense as far as like we're moving into a more digital realm in general. So like it just makes sense. Like the technology under it would be more digital, and then the money would be more digital, and our assets become more digital. That's kind of what the way I describe investing in crypto and NFTs. You're just investing the idea that will be more virtual than last year. Cool. And so, anyways, as we bring this podcast to a close, I want to ask some like rapid fire Q&A questions, if you're cool with that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
let's do it. All right, I always start with this one because I don't know why I think it's interesting. It's not interesting, but what's your favorite color?
Favorite color? Green.
Green, fire. All right, most people say blue. That's really interesting. You said green. Do you have any tattoos? Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, I was muted. I said I don't, but I would like to get one. So send me ideas.
Hell yeah, dude. Where are you trying to get one? Like your arm, your chest, your neck?
Probably arm. Probably here.
Fire. Right on. I'm actually gonna finish my sleeve. Because I have the first half of my arm tattooed, but I want to get like rose thorns. I'm not sure exactly what I want to get. It's a really hard decision. So I'll send you some of the ideas I'm looking at. Okay.
It is a hard decision, especially for someone like myself who has none. So I feel like, hey, do I really want to have this growing thing attached to me, or no? Yeah.
Well, with the tattoo, like, after like a few weeks, honestly, it kind of just you forget about it. Like it's on my entire arm, and I don't even recognize that it's there. It's just part of my arm now. So it is interesting because I remember when I was first getting it, that's when especially my dad was like, "Yo, you sure you want to get that? Like that's gonna be in your arm forever." And I was like, "Yeah, like fuck it, whatever." And now I'm happy I got it. I really like it. I like the way ink looks. Okay,
Yeah.
where have you not traveled to that you want to go that you haven't been to yet?
Africa.
Africa,
I've
where?
never been to it. Yeah, anywhere in Africa. But it's funny because before COVID, I had this trip planned to Tanzania, and we with friends and whatnot, and we canceled it. We ended up postponing it, and then this year we went to Colombia together. But the original plan was to go to Africa, and yeah, we had to postpone it. But I would
Damn.
like to go at some point.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, right on. All right, favorite alcohol if you got one.
Whiskey sour.
Whiskey sour.
Or I should say, now that I went to Colombia, I should say pisco sour is actually better.
Okay. Are you like a big beer drinker or not so much?
Not so much, no.
Not so much beer. Yeah, me neither. Me neither. I end up picking like the sissiest one. I pick like a sour or like, yeah, a sour or like, or I'll just fucking cry and pick some IPA that's gonna taste like shit.
I would pick sour beer for sure. Like, yeah, sometimes I do drink sour beer a little bit. I'm not a big drinker in general, but whenever I'm with friends, so I'm on social, in social events sometimes,
True,
not always.
true.
I would drink, yeah.
Yeah, and then okay, and this was just popped in my head a second ago, but do you have any NFTs that you have that are like art pieces for yourself that like your own supporters maybe would be buying? Like, do you have any small collections like that?
Yeah, so I have obviously lots of NFTs on Flow and Ethereum. This one is an NFT. It was the first foundation auction that I actually was able to win.
Let's
At other
go.
auctions, I was not. It's actually a video, but I couldn't find a monitor that was squared at the time, so I ended up printing a frame of the video. But I could definitely link the actual piece, and it's a very cool video of these lines that represent somebody walking back and forth. So yeah,
Legend.
pretty cool.
Legend. Do you have any
Yeah.
NFTs that you made that are like you're selling that are your art pieces? Do you have anything like that?
Oh, I see. No, I have an NFT that I made. So when Benny moved on from Dapper Labs, I gave him a one of one. I like to draw, so I ended up drawing an NFT of all the different projects that we worked together: CryptoKitties, Cheese Wizards, NBA
Yeah.
TopShot, and it's a one-on-one drawing that I made and I gave him, but that's it.
Dude, that's fucking epic. That is wow. One of a kind, one of one right there. And then this is my last question.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, I guess about a year ago exactly, I was still living in my car. I was traveling, but I was basically broke. I was just traveling, trying to figure out my life, soul searching, that kind of thing. And one of the guilty pleasures that I checked off was going like, I don't know why. I always liked the Twilight series. It's an old ass movie trilogy. You may have heard of it. It's fucking vampires. Everyone makes fun of me for it. It's like one of my top guilty pleasures to watch. But during that trip, I said, fuck it, I'm going to drive to Washington State and I'm going to go to the place that it was filmed. And I took a selfie at the, like one of the most iconic locations that they filmed a movie in Forks. I think actually might be Oregon. And it was one of my top guilty pleasures ever. Now that I share mine, you don't have to, but if you want to share a guilty pleasure that you have, I think the audience would love to hear what Mr. Camara has as a guilty pleasure. It doesn't have to be a movie. It can be anything.
That's a fantastic question, but I have to think about this one.
Or pet peeve. You can give me either one.
Guilty pleasure, pet peeve. I don't know. Let's see. So I would say just watching Netflix would be kind of like a guilty pleasure that I watch, like all sorts. To be honest, I love movies in general, and I don't have like any type of movie that I don't like. So I watch like from indie movies to like mainstream movies. So the Twilight thing, I would watch that too. Like,
let's fucking go.
Let's go. Let's watch it. And I've watched it. I've watched all of it.
Let's go.
But I don't. don't have like a favorite one that I would watch over and over, like
True.
or maybe Harry Potter. Maybe I've
Oh yeah.
watched like dozens of times, but otherwise I don't have like one that everybody makes me fun of. Makes fun of me because of it.
Do you have a celebrity that you love?
Music, I listen to the same music over and over, which is maybe because I'm not searching, or maybe because I'm not receiving good recommendations. But people hate the fact that I, like, especially my partner, like, hate the fact that I listen to the same songs over and over and over. There's this guy called Daniel Shaw from Australia that he's so small, but still, like, I listen to his music all the time, and it's the same music all the time, and it's a bit annoying for people
What kind of
around
music
me,
is
but
it?
I like it. It's a slow pop music, I think.
That you said Daniel Shang?
Daniel Shaw.
Shaw. Okay, I'll look him up after. Because I am always
he's
on the
cool.
hunt
He's
for
cool.
new
I
music.
don't know
So
what he's up to. He was supposed to have a small concert here in Vancouver, and then he ended up never showing up, or I guess COVID prevented him from showing up. And I don't know what he's up to these days, but he's not that big, so I doubt he can travel that much. And yeah.
Man,
Anyway.
Arthur getting rugged by Daniel Shaw.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, listen, that was a fucking epic episode. Thanks so much for your insights. Thanks for your time. I had a great time. And guys, if you made it to the very end, code word is going to be, fuck it, dude. Code word Shaw. Code word Shaw. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you being here. If it's not your first episode, OG, spamming the chats. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. I have his stuff down below if you want to check his stuff out. I think his Twitter is down there. But again, Arthur, thank you for coming on, bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. All right, guys. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful for your life watching this video.